I was looking at your ultra sign up profile, and you're like the Chuck Norris of trail running right now.
Welcome to the Run True Diaries podcast, celebrating runners of all backgrounds and abilities. This is where running unites, inspires, and motivates. Lace up to get your race up. Let's get moving.
Hey, what's up, everybody out there running on native land, and welcome to the Run True Diaries podcast. I'm your host, Luis, a.k.a. Chico, and this is Season 3, Episode 4, making it broadcast number 23. Thank you for spending some of your precious time listening to the show. I appreciate it. I'm definitely not going to waste it. Lace up, race up, and let's get moving. We're at the starting line with this episode's guest, and he is a force to be reckoned with. He's a former military soldier turned ultra-endurance machine, taking on some of the toughest races in the nation. In a single year, he's faced the Moab 240, the I'm Tough 100, and the Crazy Mountain 100, and came out on the other side stronger, faster, and more determined than ever. And when he's not out there crushing these insane distances, he's out there giving back, mentoring, supporting, and leading by example for veterans and the ultra running community. Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen, because this episode is about to get epic. And please join me in welcoming the iron-willed, trail-crushing, enduro beast, Matthew Kellenberger. Woo!
Hey, how you doing? Hi, y'all.
Hey, what's going on, Matt? How are you?
Oh, I'm doing all right. It's winter training time. I told myself I'd take time off, but I just can't do it.
Hey, speaking about that, I was looking at your ultra sign up profile, and you're like the Chuck Norris of trail running right now. Hey, and before we continue, I have a public service announcement. We here at Run True Diaries, we're in a bit of a legal battle with Apple. They've taken away our permissions, permits, and privileges to continue as a running podcast. But, ladies and gentlemen, Matt Kellenberger said it was okay, and now even Siri's lacing up for her first ultra marathon because, boom, he's the trail Chuck Norris.
I don't care about my time. I just want to finish.
Okay, Matt. You and I both know that the trail is not going to conquer itself. So let's stop yapping and let's start lapping with the Fast Five. These are 5 rapid-fire questions that'll give us a quick insight about you. Question number 1. When it comes to running, do you prefer roads or trails?
Definitely trails. I've done enough training on the roads just for training.
Yeah.
And in a place like Missoula, you have to run in circles. Like I could literally be out by the Smoke Jumper Center, by the airport, coming back around into town. I mean, other than running the highway, the only way you can do it is running in circles or down the Bitterroot Trail. So I would rather be on a trail. It keeps my mind more occupied, and at least I can observe nature while I do it, you know?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Question number 2. Challenge coins, medals, buckles, or the journey's experience?
Well, the experience stops everything, of course.
Yeah, definitely.
but for a medal, I definitely like the buckle idea. When I found out that that's what ultras do, you know, especially up here in Montana, wearing a buckle, you know, with the Montana life, it goes hand in hand.
Heck yes. Question number 3. Besides athletics, what is your favorite pastime?
Probably reading. I don't watch, mainstream television or anything like that. So I read a lot of books. So if I'm not, working on basically keeping myself in shape, it's keeping my mind healthy. So that's really what I focus on.
Oh, I love that. And yeah, I love to read as well. Question number 4. What is some advice that you would give to young Matthew?
I would tell him to be patient, definitely, because back in the day, I probably didn't have the patience I have now. Because everything will come to you. It just takes time. And also the other part to that is it's a matter of finding out what the next step is. And so now that's kind of what I do on a daily basis. And even in my training and in my racing, I'm like, what's the next step? Yeah. So I'm always looking for that to move ahead.
Heck yes. Question number 5. What is something positive happening in your life right now?
Ooh, I would say just seeing everything unfold as far as the race schedule goes right now. I'm looking at trying to do 2 Grand Slams this year. So the Grand Slam of ultra running and the Rocky Mountain Slam. in the same year. It's only been done 3 times, I believe, since 99, since they created the Rocky Mountain Slam. And it was like 2003, 2007, 2010 or something.
Jeez, that is amazing.
Yeah.
And boom, just like that, Matt's Fast 5 is in the books, like Cliff Young's 1983 victory at the Sydney to Melbourne Ultra, where he crushed 543 miles without sleeping.
Wow.
Hey, and that's not a fun fact.
That's a run fact.
There you go. I love it. All right, Matt. Hey, before we dive into the miles behind the madness, let's slow roll into a good solid pace. Give us the race report on who Matt is, where you're from, your roots, and what built the Enduro Beast.
Wow. So back in the day, I mean, all that I knew was, short distance running. I was a really fast sprinter, and I played baseball, and I played football, and I played roller hockey. And that was until they really, like with the Mighty Ducks, right? There's that Mighty Ducks thing, because down where I'm from the Southwest, we didn't really have ice hockey, wasn't a big thing. And so a lot of these power sports, I had speed for, but I never had the endurance. So growing up, my father always wanted me to do cross country, and I never did it. He wanted me to be a decathlete. I didn't do it. He wanted me to be a boxer. There's so many things that I was into, but I never followed through with it, except baseball. And so going from baseball, being a fast, batter, fielder, runner, that's kind of where my base started. And then after that, I ended up getting into the military. And from the military, we started running, 5 to 7 miles was typical. But during races, I would probably run only half marathons for the longest time.
I was the same way. I started out with the military route and everything. And I was kind of a regular with the Army 10 miler. That was kind of my long run at the time.
Yep. And so, other than those, training runs, I didn't really, I started racing when I got out of the military, and it was just mainly half marathons. So within the past, I would say 2 years it's been, or 3 years, I got into triathlons and the ultra scene at the same time. So I started swimming again, and I acquired a really nice road bike, and I started competing in triathlons and ultras. The first ultra being a Spartan Ultra.
Oh, wow. What all goes into a Spartan Ultra? Okay, hold on. Before we even talk about that, I've never even ran a Spartan run yet. I ran a mud race and stuff like that, but I'm pretty sure that's not the same thing, right? Or is it?
No, it's similar because they have obstacles, except the Spartan obstacles, they have like a set range of just a bunch of obstacles, and so that's what they're known for. The ultra will only be a 31 mile ultra, but the obstacles, I think there's, was it 60 of them or something like that?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's about 60 obstacles with like a 31 miler, so it's not a really long distance ultra, but it's like on the low end.
Does the running that with those obstacles, does it give your body a break? Or okay,
it does. A lot of people like it because it breaks up the running. Because a lot of people who will do a Spartan, they love the obstacle course side of it, but not so much the running. I've heard a lot of people be like, "Well, I don't really like the running, but because I get to take a break."
Yeah, definitely. Hey, so what? There's something that I wanted to ask you about, and it is the Herd to Human project that you have.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Tell us about that.
So Herd to Human is a program that was written by my buddy Jeff Patterson and his wife Darlene, and they've always been horse people here in Montana, from Sealy Lake and now out east of Missoula in Tura area. And so Willow Bend Farm is his farm out there, and he created this program after working with people and working with horses. And what he found out, kind of like being a horse whisperer, even though he won't call himself one, he's met other horse trainers that had these same kind of ideas and philosophies. And he used to play polo with the sheriff's posse in Missoula area.
Oh, and,
wow. He's seen the way, being an old cowboy, the way horses have been abused and forced to do things that humans want them to do. Yeah. And it wasn't until later his old horse Sam kind of taught him how to communicate, I guess you could say. He learned that there was a different way to communicate, where you can wait for the response from the horse, and they actually understand what you're saying, and they understand your commands also by your body language as well.
Oh, wow. How long have you been doing that?
So I've been doing that with him. The first time I went through the program, I believe, was actually back in 2018. And then I've been kind of, shadowing, and I actually left to fight fire in Flagstaff. But when I came back prior to that, he called me in about 2019, 2020. So around COVID time. And he told me, hey, when you coming back? Because he already had me kind of tapped for that position. He wanted me to carry his program essentially. Here.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that was when I came back in about 2021, him and I got together, and that's when I found out he wanted me to be an instructor. The way he set it up is it's his program. He doesn't want it adulterated. He doesn't want it changed because it really doesn't need to be changed. Every instructor can run their own business for the program. And so there's, instructors in Kalispell area, there's Missoula, there's Helena, and there's also in Billings, but it's kind of up to those instructors to follow through with their business.
Oh, okay. Hey, so how is working with the Hurt to Human program, how has that influenced your perspective on healing and personal growth?
It's influenced it a lot because there's certain philosophies that we have in the program, and those philosophies apply to life in general and, to relationships with people. I can give you some ideas on what those are. One of them we call dropping the rope. So, if you're trying to, say, force a horse to do something and it's not working out, you can always drop the rope and walk away. It's the same way with people. Instead of heightening everything and escalating, you can always drop the rope and calm everything back down before you come back and approach it.
I like it. That's awesome.
Yeah. Another one is having, let's say, dark lists and light lists. That it's really looking at the silver lining. And this is something that actually I personally kind of have this ability. And I think it's because I've been through quite a bit with the military that I always have this way of just looking for that silver lining, and that list is basically finding the things in your life or the things about yourself that you might not necessarily like. And say you have a list and you write them down, all these things you don't like. And then going and looking at the flip side of it. If it weren't for this, I wouldn't have this. If it weren't for that, I wouldn't have that. You find a way to turn it around so that it makes sense and you understand what you gained rather than what you lost.
Oh, okay. I understand. That's a good perspective. Hey, and how has your involvement with this program impacted your own journey as an ultra runner?
Well, it's definitely helped me out because the mental toughness aspect, and when I think about my relationship with the world and with other people, and the communication that I have with other people, I always would rather over communicate and be understood than under communicate and be misunderstood, because I've gone through most of my life being misunderstood just because everybody sees the world differently and thinks about the world differently. If we were to get into even consciousness and stuff like that, that there's certain levels of behaviors that people can exhibit, whether it's shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, pride, courage, neutrality, willingness, acceptance, reason, love, joy, peace. So out of that whole spectrum, people will exhibit different worldviews based on what they see and how they feel. And so going into this program, it's allowed me to kind of understand that. And while I'm in the middle of running, I can hit that flow state where everything in the world just comes back to me, and whatever arises, it's almost like contemplation or meditation. Whatever arises, I can let it go, or I can even sit there and I can think about it while I'm in the process of, running.
Yeah, that's really good, a mindset to have while you're out there. Hey, and you said you had to take a break for fighting fires. Was that wildfire? Yeah,
that was wildfire. I used to work for CAL FIRE and the Forest Service. And so I worked for them for the longest time. I think 2013 was the first year I got into fire because I studied forestry. Yeah. And so with forestry and wildland fire management, I was heavily into that, and then once I found firefighting, I couldn't get away from the excitement. And so 2017 was when I first moved to Missoula because of the smoke jumper training.
Okay. I used to be a hot shot for the Chief Mountain Hot Shots.
Okay.
So the funny thing about it is hold on. The last podcast, if you guys are like listening, yes, I have a child development associates and a child psychology associate's degree. And yes, I can make a connection here because I do have some wildfire background. And then I have a future guest who has a geology degree, and I have that too. So I just don't want it to seem like every podcast guest that come on, I'm just like saying, hey, me too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I totally get it. The funny thing is that because of this herd to human program, it's like I started in the natural sciences. So I've studied just about every natural science in every college course. But then I transitioned over, and now what I do is working with people. So it's now understanding people, understanding, emotions, and spirituality is a big part of it. And that ties into running. Running for me is a very spiritual thing. It's definitely, obviously, it's going to be physical. Obviously, it's going to be emotional in some way, getting through the pain, but it's very spiritual too. And I can't disconnect myself from it as a spiritual thing.
Yeah, definitely. I 100% agree with that. Hey, and before we get too far off the topic about wildfires, man, I'll tell you, it's one of the jobs that I miss so much. And I'm still in the fire field, but no longer do I gotta, hike with a chainsaw for 8 miles before you get to your job site. And then you work for the 16 hours and then you sleep where you stop working that day. And I remember just how gritty and grimy that job was, but it was so fulfilling because like you're actually doing something good for the communities. And, the brotherhood that I felt in there, I have never felt anywhere else. It's just, you establish a rapport so close with your teammates and everything. And you're actually looking out for them day in and day out. Have you ever fought fire down in Florida or anything like that?
No, I've never done it in the Southeast. It's mainly been in the Southwest and I'd say the Northern Pacific, like Northern California and Southern Oregon too. Like Chetco Bar Fire in Brookings. I was there on the coast when that almost overran the town, but they had a Marine layer that came in and saved them. It wasn't because of the firefighters. It was the weather.
Really? And there's so many different aspects that to wildfires that, people just don't understand. And hey, no, I just wanted to pick your brain on that real quick. I just get really excited when it comes to wildland fire and everything. So, Hey, Matt, have you ever heard of the man against horse race?
No, there's a race. So I'm guessing it's an endurance race, right?
Yeah. So it's actually a 50 miler held annually in Prescott, Arizona, where runners compete directly against horseback riders over this 50-mile run, I guess.
Hey, that sounds interesting. I'd be willing to try it, because even Western states started kind of as a horse race, the Tevis Cup that's down there.
Oh, okay.
That's the actual big race for, the horsemen.
I thought maybe you heard of it because of your the herd to human program. That's what I thought.
Yeah, no, I've never heard of it though. But I mean, if I ever go down there again, or I'm in the area, or I move to Arizona or closer, maybe Utah, then I'd be willing to try it.
And right now you're in Missoula, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Heck yeah. I love that town. Miss it. I miss Montana so much. Hey, before we keep this momentum going, drop your Instagram handle so we can follow along and support your journey.
Yeah, it's going to be _Savage. Or actually, I changed it. Kellenberger. That's my last name. So,
okay, Kellenberger.
Yeah,
got it. We're gonna start supporting you on that. And is there a story behind the name Mandime?
There actually is. It was. I've been given so many nicknames in my time, but like it was a nickname that was given to me by someone special to me. I helped her out and her children, and she was kind of like offhand. One day, I was just doing whatever I was doing, and she's like, "You're my Mandime," and I was like, so it was one of those things where when I thought about it, I was like, you know what? Everybody deserves to be in the presence of somebody who says like, you're my perfect 10.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, just having somebody say that, it doesn't mean you're actually perfect, right? They know that. Yeah. But to them, you're what they are looking for, And I feel like that's also, to me, on my side, it's something to strive for. So I know that perfection nobody's ever going to be perfect.
Right.
But if you strive for change, like Winston Churchill has this quote about being perfect is like changing often.
Yeah, that's very insightful. And I love the name, Man. Got you there. All right. Hey, now that we got a solid grasp on your background, let's dive into the wild world of the Enduro Man Beast adventures. So here at Run Shoe Diaries, we have a veteran athletes coin of excellence program, and it's awarded to veterans who continue to serve not only in the battlefield, but in the running community. These athletes are more than runners. They're leaders, role models, and warriors who inspire the youth, uplift running communities. They embody resilience, leadership, and the relentless spirit of endurance. And today we recognize our very first recipient, which was Matt Kellenberger at Crazy Mountain in 2024.
Yeah, I like the coin. I use it as a bottle opener.
There you go. Look, and there's a picture of us the first time.
Yeah, I'll be back this year.
Heck yes. Megan sent that one to me this year. Yeah. So actually, man, let's talk about Crazy Mountain right quick. So I was gonna register. So I am registered right now, but I'm actually on the wait list. I woke up. Actually got off work that morning. I got off work at 4. And 2 hours later was, going to be the opening for the registration. I thought I'd have a couple hours of sleep, and as soon as I wake up, knock it out. And nope.
Yep.
Nope. Not even close.
I've been there. I know what it's like. I sometimes I'm like, I might as well stay up because I don't know if I'll get back up.
Yeah. So, I did see your name on there on the race participants this year, and I'm on the wait list. Either way, I'll be there. And so if I don't make it into the race, if you need a pacer, I might be available.
Hey, there we go.
Hey, but according to Ultra Running Magazine, you completed the 2024 Crazy Mountain 134 hours last year.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's right.
How tell me about the race. How did you hear about it? And
so this is something it's been a development since 2024, since last year. But recently, I finally went to see the doc and got a diagnosis. I actually have exercise-induced asthma. And and so this is one of the big things that's been holding me back from my races is before, when I first started the races, I just wasn't used to, get into, the aid station and get out as soon as possible. And once I got that down, I was like, okay, this ain't so bad. Yeah. But a bunch of different races from last year, this exercise-induced asthma showed up. And Crazy Mountain was one of them. And so I think the worst was Bryce Canyon in May. I was actually on track to do a 24-hour 100, and it wiped me out to where the same thing happened. I finished in like 34 hours or something like that because it hit me so hard. So I do have an inhaler, but beyond that, they're prescribing, even stronger medication for me.
I mean, you says that it wipes you out. Like, can you kind of give us a little bit of insight?
Lot of what happens is I can tell that my airway narrows a little, but also that flap in the back, the epiglottis. What ends up happening is I end up getting a buildup of mucus there. And so when I came into the last aid station at Crazy Mountain, I was hacking and coughing all of this stuff up, and basically the effectiveness even of my lungs, like down in my lungs, I don't get as much out of them as I normally do. And I can tell the difference because earlier in the race, I'll be racing it really fast. And then later on, when I feel like I'm more winded when going on the uphills and that I just don't have the strength that I should have, that's when I know that it's definitely happening to me.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm happy that you made it through that, and I'm happy you keep fighting through. And that just goes to say so much about your resilience and everything. And just like we're beating a dead horse on that one, like you're tough. You're one of the toughest guys out there. That's why I call you the trail Chuck Norris. Yeah. Hey, but speaking of the Crazy Mountain 100, I need to start eyeballing this one, and I didn't even know about it until my daughter showed me this post, and then I saw it on your running profile, the Copper King 100 in Butte.
Yeah. So last year, something happened with that Copper Kings race, and some people still entered it and ended up placing, but the contestants list, I think, was less than 15. And so something happened with it, and they had it canceled on Ultra Sign Up, even though people ran it. And so this year it's actually open and it's on Ultra Sign Up.
Yeah, it's in June, right? Mm-hmm.
I think the exact date.
I think
I can give that to you. It's going to be June 27th.
And that's a 1 month before Crazy.
Yeah. Yep. Crazy's in July on the 25th.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to have to kind of start eyeballing that one. It just caught my eye just recently. So, hey, and then when I was researching you, I come across a dialogue on Facebook, and then I realized that there's another one out there. It's coming online, the Helena 100.
Yep. So the Helena 100 would be August 30th if he gets the permits approved.
Oh, man. Okay. All right. So when I was going through this, right, and I start reading the dialogue, I saw you out there, and then I saw that Wes Harshbarger. Shout out to Wes. He said 3 100-milers in Montana. He called it the Montana trifecta. Is that actually what it's called? Is there like a partnership going on, or was it just a thought in his head?
I think it's a thought in his head. We could probably turn them into a trifecta right now. As far as I'm aware, the Rocky Mountain Slam has like 8 races to choose from. So I don't know if they need anymore. And technically the Crazy Mountain isn't part of the Rockies because it's further to the east, but the Helena and the Butte one would be part of the Rockies, I'm sure. Maybe if you count them, I guess. I don't know, unless they're saying the Bitterroot range is the Rockies. But either way, we could do a Montana trifecta.
Yeah. Right now we need to coin a cool name like the Treasure State Triple. Montana's hardest hitting 100-milers, proving that endurance is the real gold of the West. There you go. Look at that.
Yeah. Hey, actually, I agree with that. You could do the Treasure State trifecta. I mean,
man, look at that.
That works there.
Yeah. No, but hey, like seriously, I had no clue that these other two existed until my research of you. So, man, this podcast is paying off already.
Yeah. Yep. I'm always looking for more races. Even this next month, mid-March, I'm doing the Drift 100, and it's a 100-miler that's west of the Wind River Reservation down in Wyoming. And it's up there in those high elevation mountains, but it's still going to be, a groomed snow trail, 103 miles. The aid stations, there's only 4, and it's 25, 25, 16, 16 finish.
Oh man. Hey, so as of right now, your furthest is the Moab 240. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Can you tell me about that? And I know how tough it is for me to run a 100-miler. Mm-hmm. Can you just speak to it, how a 100-miler compares to a 240-miler, the pain difference in those distances?
Oh, definitely. So the difference between your 100 and your 200 or 300, anything beyond that, obviously it's going to take more out of you. You're definitely, like, I usually go overnight without sleeping in 100s, but in the 200s, you will probably get to a point where you're so tired, you need to catnap, you need to sleep because you'll start hallucinating, which I did. Like there was a rock on the side of the road that turned into a dog and ran across the road, and it was not even there. I knew it wasn't real, but in my mind, I'm like, I need to get to this next aid station, which I was close to get sleep. But the aid stations tend to be further apart too. In 100s, they can be anywhere from like 7 to, just over 10 miles. These ones you're looking at beyond that, even 15 to 20 sometimes. So they're really far apart. Yeah. And then as far as, carrying like food, nutrition, water, you want to carry more on you, especially the water. If you're someone like me who sweats a lot, I should have had, instead of, 4 bottles to handle and 1 bladder, that's 5 different things I got to hand off when they want to refill them. I should have just had 2 bladders. Maybe a 3 liter and a 2 liter. And even if I didn't fill them up all the way, I could have filled 1 with electrolytes and 1 with water. You know what I mean? And just those 2 would have been perfect. And then my recommendation, I use gels, but there's also drink mixes that Morton uses. They're like 320 calories, but you need to be really stable. I found out when I get basically jumbled up running around on the trail, it definitely affects my stomach. So what I found out works better on those trail runs, in Moab especially, was the cheeseburgers. I'll come in and be like, give me 2 cheeseburgers right now, and I'll take 1 to go in foil. And I would just, shove those down and take 1 with me on the trail on top of what I'm already eating.
Heck yeah. This goes again from the last podcast episode. We were talking something very similar to this. where for me, I got used to taking bagel sandwiches.
Yep.
And it started off when I was training in Albuquerque, and it was a trial and error thing.
Yep.
But I liked it, and it just kind of become a staple now. So, no, I definitely agree with that. Hey, but I developed this question specifically for you. Every ultra runner has that moment, that one where doubt creeps in, where quitting seems like the only option. Can you take us to a time in a race where you hit rock bottom? What was going through your mind, and how did you find the strength to keep on moving?
Wow. I've had those moments, and it's funny because when I think back about when exactly they happened, it's hard for me to remember, when that moment was, because sometimes I get even the aid stations mixed up of like a 200, like the 240. I was like, I can't remember which one was in front of the other.
Right.
But I'll tell you that when I hit that kind of moment where I'm just starting to feel like I'm down, I start to do a self-assessment. Honestly, what I'll do is I'll be like, is it because I'm dehydrated? Is it because I need food? Is it dependent on something else? Is it because of pain? Like pain in my feet or something like that? Because I've had those moments too where, my feet were so sore. Speaking about Moab, my feet were so swollen that they were they maxed out the shoe. The shoe actually couldn't expand enough for my feet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so, I didn't want to take them off because of that until after I was done with the race. So what usually goes through my head during those moments is like, it's like, you got this, you signed up for it. You knew what you were in for. You knew it was going to be painful, and whatever comes your way, you have to find, not only the courage, but sometimes the pride to get through it. You know what I mean? Like you'll be thinking about this later on, and you could stop now at any time. Sure. I tell myself that. I'm like, you can stop if you want, but would you kind of live with yourself if you stopped? Even if you were to continue and you got a did not finish, at least you didn't stop. You know what I mean? And so that's usually what goes through my head in those moments. Sometimes I'll tell you, I reach out. I might not be considered a highly religious person, but I definitely being spiritual, reaching out to, some people would say God or creator, and saying, hey, I need the strength right now. Like I'm feeling like maybe I'm feeling a little weak, and I know I can do better than this. And I feel like I need that little bit of a push, and it comes eventually. That kind of feeling wears off. And you feel like there are moments when you feel like you have something behind you, like a force behind you or in you that pushes you forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Hey, and to my understanding, last year, since you're the trail Chuck Norris, you DNF'd every race. But in your language, DNF means did not fatigue, right?
Yeah. I would say so. Yeah.
Boom, trail Chuck Norris.
Right.
Hey, so here's another one for you. As a military veteran, you've seen challenges most people can't even imagine. How has ultra running helped you process these experiences? And in what ways do you think endurance sports can help other veterans healing and find purpose?
That's a big one. This is really tied to why I do what I do.
Yeah.
And really, even with the last question that you asked, when I have that moment in my mind, I'm like, you've been through worse. Like there's nothing that can hurt you because you've been through so much worse. You know what I mean? Like whether it's emotional or physical, I've already been through some pretty harsh things where I'm like, this isn't close. So on that baseline, it's nice to have that to reach back to and to be like, I know I can make it through. But the biggest part is the challenge. And I tell people that they're like, you need a psychiatrist or something, right? And I'm like, no, not really, because I do find that in this running community, a lot of people, you could say, are running from something or running from themselves. But when you reach that line to know the difference between running from something or running from yourself and running to something, you know what I mean? There's a big difference. And that's where I'm at, is running to something. I'm running to my potential or what I can be. I'm running to that challenge. And that's really what a lot of us veterans need. I have a lot of veteran buddies, obviously, that are back here in the States. And some of them, I think, because of me, because of watching my feed and stuff, they've been pushing themselves, getting back into shape. They've started running again. But a lot of them, weren't like that. A lot of them were just sitting around. They gained a bunch of weight and they weren't happy with themselves, because And so it's that challenge, and that's what they really need in their life. It's not that they necessarily need to be, so fit that they're really thin or anything like that, but it's the challenge they need, because I'm definitely somebody who pushes that idea that, once the mind goes, the body goes, or once the body goes, the mind goes. So you can't have one without the other, and you got to have the challenge of both the body and the mind to keep yourself going.
Definitely agree with that one. Hey, your race history shows that you've tackled some incredibly grueling races. What's your training approach? Are there any unconventional methods or game-changing strategies that you've picked up along the way?
Yeah, I would say there is. I'm a cross trainer, so I train in all kinds of, sports. I do the triathlon. So I think swimming, even though it's really technique dependent, swimming is really good for rehab. And it also works the full body, which is why I love it. It's not as impactful. So that's one of the cross training methods that I use. I also do cycling. And so cycling helps build a lot of power in the legs, especially for climbing. And
so let me interject real quick, because I want to throw this one in there before you say it. I was watching the Super Bowl, and during the commercials, I would check my feed or my messages, and then I come across one of your stories, and you're out there doing power skiing for a marathon distance or something like this.
So I do cross country skiing, and I do classic, and I'm getting better at skate skiing right now. Skate skiing it's working for me, but it's not as good as I want it to be. But with the classic Nordic skiing, the motion is the diagonal strides closer to running, and I did a marathon with the sled in tow with all of my winter gear on it, not just like hand-picked a few things. I threw everything on it just for the weight.
Oh, wow. Do you incorporate weightlifting into any of these, or is it all endurance-based stuff that you do?
So I do have weightlifting as well. I'm not as big on it anymore as I used to be. So back when I was lifting, I used to do a lot of, up to max sets, like even 1 rep, 2 rep lifts. And in the long run, the tension on the muscles doesn't help as much. So instead, I've been focusing on the calisthenics and like hot yoga for stretching out.
Okay. Hey, so here's a deep question I want you to think about real quick. Ultra running is becoming a sport that is starting to expand in popularity. What is something that should be spoken about, but is very, very pushed under the rug, or not given the attention that it needs to be given?
So I actually answered this question on your list. The thing is I feel like the lotteries are the thing that bug me the most, because I'm a guy who likes to come in right away. I want to knock this out and I want to move on to the next thing. Some people want to run a race 100 times in a row and they love that same race. I get it, now they can get in anytime they want because they've completed it. But there's a lot of up and coming people, and we have to make room for them. You know what I mean? Like, regardless of if we don't want that or not. I understand that there's legacy people that they let in, so many slots in different races. But those lotteries, man, it's really hard to get yourself in there. And so I'm like, well, how would you do it? Do you need to have a race resume that shows that you've completed X amount of races? Or, can you write something and have them consider you based on what you write? It's like, there's got to be a different way, because, certain ones that are so popular, like Western States, for instance, right?
Yeah.
I think it was Scott Jurek who posted something in it. He took the Western States logo and it said 0% chance.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'm like, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, man.
So I'm like, I get it for getting the golden tickets for winning races that give you the free entry too and all that. But as far as the lottery, speaking about that, I feel like they should give you more tokens for each race, not just one race, because like say you completed one 100 miler or something. So you get one token like everyone else does that year.
Right.
I think they should be able to give out multiple tokens, because if somebody's willing to do multiple races,
Yeah. Heck yes. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to have you pick a number 1 through 5. I have 5 questions here lined up, and whichever number you pick is one we're going to ask.
Let's do number 1.
All right. Number 1. And I'm pretty sure this is just a yes or no question. But Matt, you've tackled some of the toughest races on the planet. So I got to ask, did Chuck Norris train under you, Or did you just outrun him one day and so he decided to stick to roundhouse kicks?
Well, I can't say anything bad about Chuck Norris. I think maybe I just ran faster because he's older now.
Okay. Go ahead, pick 2 through 5.
We'll do number 2.
Number 2, ultra aid stations are basically buffet tables for crazy people. What's the weirdest thing that you have ever eaten mid-race, and did you instantly regret it, or did it give you superpowers?
So the weirdest thing that I've ate at an aid station, I'm trying to think now. Gosh. I like pickles, but in a race, I don't really like pickles.
Really?
Yeah, so a lot of people do, and maybe I'll drink pickle juice, but for some reason, when I'm in the race, maybe it's just consuming so much water. I feel like, I get so clean, like it's almost like it's too salty sometimes for me.
Okay. For me, one of the things that I realized that I don't like to eat mid-race is watermelon, because I do the thing like, you know how you eat watermelon when you're thirsty, you're like...
yeah.
But it makes me feel like super full and waterlogged that I just rather do without that feeling.
And another one I'll tell you that I might get flack over. It depends on kind of maybe the quality of it, but sometimes it's actually bacon and coffee because of the acidity. And so with that acidity, my stomach tends to be a little more sensitive than it used to be years ago. Probably because my diet used to be way worse. And now that my diet's cleaner, it seems like the coffee and bacon, it tends to be like too acidic for me or too salty,
Yeah. Hey, with all of these brutal ultras that you finish, what is the first thing that you do? Is it a celebratory meal, ice baths, or do you just collapse and just enjoy life after that? Or do you go right back to training?
I would say... So immediately, I remember Moab. So in Moab, I was with another young man, and we together got across the finish line, and his parents promised to buy me ice cream, Ben and Jerry's. So the first thing I do, like that night, I'll obviously get a really good long sleep, but I'll wake up and just eat everything in sight. So I ate that whole like Ben and Jerry's ice cream like instantly when I woke up. And then once I get back home, my recovery consists of, it's mostly sitting around or, trying to lounge around. But I use some of the, what do they call them? Certain shoes. I use the Mocs actually from Salomon because they have a back on them. But I use those when I'm walking around. Usually my feet are a little bit swollen. And, after about a week, it doesn't take long, and I have to check how my motivation is, but I'll jump back into it within 2 weeks and kind of get back to cross training. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And especially the swimming. The swimming is really good for the rehab. It helps, stretch out the muscles and the ankles and everything.
That was the question I was going to ask. I'm guilty of not doing this. I do not stretch. But what about you? Before you're going to do these 100-mile, 240-mile races, do you stretch at all?
No. So I'm one of those people who's really bad at it too. I don't like stretching. I do like dynamic stretching is essentially what I tell people. What I try to do is I'll try to warm up, maybe jog around a little bit just to get warm ahead of time. But essentially, I always tell people my style of stretching is just moving. So whatever it is that I'm doing, I'm going to do it at a slower rate at the beginning. And then once I get warm, I'm going to move into my stride.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, what's in your race kit? As far as nutrition, what kind of gear do you use? Shoes? Give us a quick rundown on all that.
So a lot of my gear is actually, a lot of it's Salomon. I really like a lot of their products.
Yeah.
So I tend to use a lot of their Salomon stuff. I use, I believe it's the really light backpack. What do they call that one?
The advanced skin?
Sense 15. I don't think they sell it anymore because a lot of people use the advanced skin, but this one is, it might be the Sense 12 is what it is, but it's a really light version. And I actually prefer that one. And I usually carry that one, even if it's a shorter race, just because I don't know what I'm going to exactly put in it, but I've raced enough with it. I just like where the pockets are. So that's a big one because I've had their Ultra Vest too, the one that's blue, but I don't like where the pockets are. I don't understand the logic behind that one. Other than that, I use a lot of Salomon shoes. I do have like something maybe around 13 pairs of them.
Wow.
Yeah. Some of them are the big ones that I used to use all the time were the Ultras, the Ultra 2s. And so those Ultra 2s are a pretty good baseline for a racing shoe. I have what are those ones called? I have like different models. I have the Sense models, the Cross ones. I also have the newest one that I've actually transitioned over to for a max padded, because after Moab, my feet were so dang sore and swollen that I upsized and I got a max padded shoe. They make one called the Max Glide TR, and it's very close to a Hoka Speed Goat.
Or one
of the like max padded shoes. So it has your traditional style laces.
Okay.
You can see it really looks like kind of like a Hoka.
Yeah, it definitely does. That's what you're using right now?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to be using now, because I'm to the point where I could use something that's less padded like my other race shoes, but that I had been using. But at this point, I would rather just be able to go harder without having to worry. The problem with those other shoes is your outsole actually sits kind of underneath the profile of your foot. So if you hit rocks, not only just landing on rocks, but right next to the rocks, I've definitely had them just, nail the side of my foot and scrape them, like really bad. So, trying to go through a lot of that rock. In Crazy Mountain, they have rock like that. The I Am Tough 100 was pretty, those trails are not maintained. So it's really brutal.
Do you use trekking poles?
Yes, I do. So they're the Lecky.
Oh, Lecky. Okay.
Yeah. So I use the Lecky poles, not the lightest ones that they have, because they do have a lighter version of the carbon ones, but I heard that they snap easy. So I got the one that's just a little bit stronger. Yeah,
that happened to me at the rut this year. I had the super lights and one of them snapped. So
mine almost did. I don't like that talus rock, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Are you in the rut this year?
No, I'm not in the rut this year.
Okay.
So I took a break.
As of right now, I'm scheduled to be at the rut. However, if another race that I'm on the wait list for comes online, then I'm definitely going to be at the other one. So we'll see how that one lines out.
You gonna do the trifecta?
Man, I tried to get in. One of the things filled up before I could do it, and so I was just like, well,
bummer.
Yeah. So yeah, I could have did 2 out of 3.
Yeah, I had to do it. I was like, just have to do it, last year. So
do you carry a Catadine filter, water filter, or anything with you?
Oh, so when it comes to those, instead of carrying a separate filter, even though I do have one of those emergency filters, what do they call them? Life straws. I had a friend who's an Air Force vet. He gave me a life straw, which is actually a really good piece of kit if you needed something that was quick. But Salomon and some other companies make bottles, the soft bottles that have the filters in them. And
really?
Yeah. And so when it came to Crazy Mountain, those were pretty clutch. I carried a couple bottles with the filters because they even recommended it on the site. And I usually carry those on more remote runs.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to have to look into those ones because I had the Catadine filter and I crushed the dang filter the way I packed it and everything. So I was like, well, gotta look for an alternative next time. All right. So looking at your 2025 race season, you have a lot of endurance events. You got the Drift 100, Old Dominion 100, Copper Kings 100, Crazy Mountain 100, Wasatch 100, the Bear 100, and the Rocky Mountain Slam. Are there any more that you're going to add to this list?
Yeah, the race actually, that's kind of what I'm looking at.
Oh my God.
It's this is what I got. If I end up doing these, it'll be the Drift 100. And this is in March. The Badger Mountain 100, that's in East Washington.
Yeah.
And then it's starting in June 7th. It's Old Dominion, the River of No Return, which goes through the Bitterroot. The Bighorn 100.
What?
Copper Kings.
Okay.
And then, there's another one called the Devil's Gulch 100.
All right.
Vermont 100, Crazy Mountain 100. I haven't decided on the Hurl Elkhorn 50 miler in Helena. And then the Wyoming Range 100, the Leadville 100. Let's see, Helena 100 if it pans out, Wasatch Front, the Ouray 50 in September, and the Bear 100, and then City to Sky is a local one here in Missoula.
Oh my God. Okay, hold on. You said the Ure. Are you doing the 50 or are you doing the 100?
The 50. So I got into the 50, but then I know I'm going to get into Vermont, and because of that, I asked for a deferral, and they said they could allow me to volunteer because Ure is going to a lottery next year. Just so you know.
Oh, okay.
So I said, how about if instead of volunteering, you let me run the 50, and the 50's in September. So they credited me the 50, and I canceled my 100. So now I'm doing the 50.
Oh, okay. So the reason I asked that is because have you heard of the one belt buckle that they have out there?
Their 100 belt buckle?
There's one single belt buckle in existence. It's the you're a crazy hard ass. So if I have this story right, you do the Ure 100. Mm-hmm. The next weekend is the Crazy Mountain 100, and then the weekend after that is the Hard Rock 100.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I think it's on the Crazy Mountain Instagram page. You can find it, but yeah, there's one buckle in existence, and I can see those stars in your eyes right now. That
well, you know what that makes me think about now is if you've gone to the website Run 100s, you know which one I'm talking about, right? The Run 100s website.
I was writing it down.
That's the one that has it gives you the list of all of the different like slams. It gives you like the regular Grand Slam, the Rocky Mountain Slam, and all these other slams that I had never heard. And so it may actually have that on that list of slams on that website.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're so close to it. You got the two races. But and then the lottery question comes back.
I tried to get into Hard Rock, and I tried to get into Western States, and so I didn't make it in on Leadville. I'm on a charity bib, so I knew I could do that on that charity bib. But the other ones, one thing that I did like about was it the Wasatch is they had a spot where you could actually select, yes, I'm trying to do the Grand Slam.
Oh,
and so they're able to take that aside, that if you didn't make it in anyway, they're able to set it aside and still approve you because, as long as you meet the requirements and you have to complete the races that come before it.
Wow. Yeah. You got a lot on your plate this year. I can't. I can't tell you to slow down because I know that's not going to work. But you definitely have my support. And as of right now, my race schedule is developing because, I got taken off of the deployment. So I have a clean slate right now. I'm actually developing my race season. And let me know where you're going. If I have an open date and you need a pacer, man, I would definitely jump in on that. I need some training miles behind me. So we'll keep in touch on that.
Okay. Yeah, for sure.
Hey, that's all the questions I have for this portion of the podcast. Is there anything you want to say, add, or go back to and revisit before we move into the next section?
There's different methodologies that people use for racing. Mm-hmm. Some people like to choose a few races out of the year and make those their A races. And, that's one way to do it. For me, my style of racing is just to choose a bunch of races and to push myself endurance wise through those and see how much I can handle, over that long-term racing. So, that's what's important to me is to try to knock out as many as possible, but also in the different sports, because in triathlon, doing like the Ultramans, or, I did that 500-mile cycling ultra. And then next year I'm looking towards Race Across America. Because otherwise my qualification from that 500-mile expires in 2 years.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Tell us about that. What are the prerequisites and what does the race entail of?
So when it comes to something like an Ultraman triathlon, you have to basically do at least I think it's an Ironman swim, at least a year out beforehand. And so, once you're able to do that, you can qualify for the Ultraman. They're more worried about the swim because the swim in an Ultraman's a 10K. So it's a 6.2 mile swim. Yeah. And then after the 10K on that first day, you get off and you do a 90-mile bike. And then the second day, it's a 3-stage. So you do a 171 on the bike. And the third day, you do a double marathon.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so I started last year's season with Phoenix, Arizona, and then the World Championships in Hawaii at the end of the season.
That's that banner behind you.
Yeah, both of them.
Oh, okay. Heck yeah, that's amazing.
the only other step beyond that in triathlons is going up to Uberman, which is like swimming from Catalina to California, biking into like Death Valley and then running Death Valley and up Whitney. I think it is something like that.
Okay, hold on. So
it's crazy.
Hold on. Okay, I only know what an Ironman is, but there's something higher than that?
Yeah, so Ultraman would be that 3-stage, the 321 miler I told you. And then Uberman is this one that ends up being, I don't know if it's 500 miles. Yeah. And there's another one called Enduroman, Arch to Arc, and you run from London to Dover, 87 miles. So the format's different. You run 87 miles, then you swim across the English Channel and then bike into Paris.
Okay, well, for this podcast episode, I called you the Enduro Beast, and I swear to God, like I can already see that might be something in your future. I mean, I had no clue that there was something above an Ironman, and so there's an Uberman, and then Enduro Man, right?
And so the only other comparable swims, that's part of the Triple Crown of swimming, being Catalina swim, the English Channel, and the 6th bridge around Manhattan, is doing the length of Flathead Lake. And I think less than 10 people have done the length of Flathead Lake. And even the temperature of the water is similar to the English Channel.
Oh my God, man. Good luck with that. I mean, I know we're going to be watching you and supporting you and everything, and you have our support, but good luck, bro. I know you're going to do great with all this.
But it's just, there's, in different sports, I like keeping it, being able to switch up between them. And Race Across America is simply 3,000 miles from Oceanside to Annapolis in Maryland.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So it's a pretty crazy race. Yeah.
Heck yes. Hey, is there anything else you want to add before we move into the next section?
No, I think that's it.
And now it's time for the 5 to stay alive. These are questions that I ask every guest about themselves and what keeps them motivated. Contestant Matthew, are you ready to answer the 5 to stay alive?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Question number 1. Do you run with or without music? And if so, what is one power song on your running playlist that motivates you?
I run with music in training, but never during racing.
Okay. Give us a power song.
A power song? Oh, man. I would say Crazy Horse by Black Label Society.
Ooh, nice. Hey, keep in mind that this song will be added to the Spotify guest playlist for listeners to download, and this song is a representation of you. Question number 2. What are some things in your life that have positively changed since you've started running?
Oh, man, I would say everything has. Physically, mentally, spiritually. Feel like I'm the best I've ever been because of it.
Yes, love it. Question number 3. In your opinion, what is one thing that an athlete should avoid in their journey to becoming a better runner?
I think they should avoid, I would say, both sides of the ego. One of it being like being too overconfident, and the other side being not confident enough. So you got to find that baseline to where you assess your capabilities and your limitations realistically. And if you can do that, then you know exactly what you can handle and what you can't.
Heck yes.
And especially when it comes to injury, being able to say, hey, this is enough.
And question number 4. Finish this statement. When it comes to long distance running, Matthew cannot leave the house without his...
Other than my shoes and clothes would be my Garmin watch.
Oh, heck.
I have a picture of all of us from Ultraman at the beginning of the run, and we're all looking at our watches, setting them.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I'm Team Garmin right now, and this one is I guess they're phasing out the 7 and going to the 8, so it's time for me to do an upgrade as well, too. So, question number 5. Do you have a running mantra?
Oh, man. I guess I kind of do. And it's really just like, it's just keep going. Literally, that's as simple as it is. Keep going, one foot in front of the other. The other one, I adopt Nike's motto. It's probably the best, most simple motto there is. Just do it.
Yeah.
One way, I tell myself, one way or another, it's going to get done. So just do it. you better do it. One foot in front of the other, whatever you have to say.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. I tell my daughters the easy way is always the hard way. To make sure that you are getting the best results and everything, you got to put in the hard work up front.
Yep.
Hey, and that's the 5 to Stay Alive. Thank you for your participation. Those are all the questions that I have for this podcast. Is there anything you want to add, say, or revisit before we bring this episode to a close?
No, I just think everybody should keep training hard, because the win is in the training. It's not in the race, So if you put in all that effort in the training, then you should be confident enough when you show up to the race that, you're going to complete it.
Hey, real quick, give a shout out to somebody before we cross the finish line.
Shoot, I'd give a shout out to, a couple people. My friend Scott and Michael LaForest. He's a really fast runner here in Missoula, and hopefully he breaks his PR. He's like a 1:12 half marathon runner.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He's a really good guy, and I think he just needs to keep going with it.
Heck yes. Hey, good luck with that, and we're going to be rooting for you as well. Hey, Matt. Thank you for joining us here on the Run Shoe Diaries podcast. Your unshakable grit and your relentless endurance inspires runners to push past their limits and redefine what is possible. Your ability to embrace the suffering, adapt to the unknown, and charge forward mile after mile reminds us that ultra running isn't just about finishing races, but it's about the battles that we fight within ourselves along the way. Through your ultra endurance conquest, from the Moab 240 to the Crazy Mountain 100, your unbreakable mindset that refuses to quit is motivation and inspiration for us all. On behalf of the entire running community, I want to thank you for leading by example and for proving that resilience isn't just a trait, it's a choice made over and over again, one step at a time. So again, Matt, it was an absolute honor to have you on the show. Keep moving, keep improving, and I'll see you out there on the trails.
All right. Heck yeah.
All right, bro. We'll check you on the next one. We're approaching the finish line, but before we cross, here's some news and views. That was Matthew Kellenberger, a true warrior on and off the race course. From military service to ultra endurance, his journey is a testament to the power of grit, purpose, and resilience. When I asked Matt about healing and personal growth, his insight and take on the subject was great advice for us all. Take a listen. Here's Mandime.
Influenced it a lot because there's certain philosophies that we have in the program, and those philosophies apply to life in general and, to relationships with people. I can give you some ideas on what those are. One of them we call dropping the rope. So, if you're trying to, say, force a horse to do something and it's not working out, you can always drop the rope and walk away. It's the same way with people. Instead of heightening everything and escalating, you can always drop the rope and calm everything back down before you come back and approach it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Another one is having, let's say, dark lists and light lists. That it's really looking at the silver lining. And this is something that actually I personally kind of have this ability. And I think it's because I've been through quite a bit with the military that I always have this way of just looking for that silver lining, and that list is basically finding the things in your life or the things about yourself that you might not necessarily like. And say you have a list and you write them down, all these things you don't like. And then going and looking at the flip side of it. If it weren't for this, I wouldn't have this. If it weren't for that, I wouldn't have that. You find a way to turn it around so that it makes sense and you understand what you gained rather than what you lost.
In this conversation, we'll learn that Matt's why is much more than just personal growth. It's also about giving back, inspiring others, and proving that every mile can serve a bigger purpose. His mission with the Lifetime Foundation is a powerful one. He's raising funds to support a healthy foundation for children and an overall healthy way of life. And you can be a part of it by going to the ltfoundation.org and searching for Matthew Kellenberger's athlete profile. And like Matt's journey, our reasons for running can evolve and adapt. Because sometimes it's about pushing our limits. Sometimes it's about healing. And sometimes it's about running for something bigger than ourselves. His story is a reminder that we all have a mission and our footprints can leave an impact. So Matt, you're definitely an inspiration, and we salute you with the grittiest thank you ever. Keep moving, keep improving, and keep pushing that warrior mindset forward, my friend. And I'll see you out there on the trails. Next, here are some additions to the Run Shoe Diaries Spotify guest playlist. Matt's going to add Crazy Horse by Black Label Society, And I'm going to add Orion by Metallica, because if there are any songs that embody this dude's journey, these are them. These tracks are all about perseverance, strength, and the relentless drive to rise above. And that brings a Spotify guest playlist to 34 songs. Download, listen, and get motivated. Now we're on the final stretch, so let's take this home strong. And what better way to do so by letting you know that this is another episode brought to you by the good folks at Silo Performance. Because ultra running just isn't about the miles. It's about preparation, resilience, and having the right gear to go the distance. Silo is built for endurance athletes to push their limits, offering race-ready solutions to keep you moving forward from start to finish. And as part of the Run Shoe Diaries community, you get 10% off your order with the code RSD10 at GoWithSilo.com. Get the gear that goes the distance, because every mile matters. And with that, we have crossed the finish line. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or guest recommendations, contact me at runshoe.diaries@gmail.com. Again, that is runshoe.diaries@gmail.com. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, and YouTube. Keyword search Run Shoe Diaries. Thank you for listening to the Run Shoe Diaries podcast, episode 23 with Matthew Kellenberger. Until next time, remember that with each step comes the decision to take another. So keep putting one foot in front of the other, because it's amazing what you can do on your own 2 feet. And I'm out.